This is Unit 4, Part 3. We're going to move into the actual revolution. Part 1 of this is Georgia in the early days of the revolution, and so the question that you're going to be answering is, what was the war like during the first years of the American Revolution in Georgia? Fighting arrives at the Georgia coast in January of 1776. British vessels sail up to the mouth of the Savannah River. Now, what the British want to do is buy rice. The Patriots in Savannah think that they're under attack. So the Patriots and the Council of Safety arrest Royal Governor James Wright and other officials. So they arrest them, but then they place them on parole, which is sort of a conditional surrender. So they're not actually in a jail. The Patriots formed two different military groups that we'll hear from all throughout the Revolution: the militia, citizen soldiers, and Continental troops. Those are funded by the Continental Congress, and those are the militia and the Continental troops are two different military organizations. Here's a timeline. We'll be coming back to this. Take a look at it. The top of the timeline are events that are going on in Georgia. The bottom is events that are going on in the rest of the colonies. So back to that first battle. It was called the Battle of the Rice Boats, or Yamacraw Bluff. What it did was leave Georgia in the hands of the Patriots. Governor Wright and his family and other royal officials escaped to the British ships. The British, who had just wanted to buy rice, eventually captured some of them, and so then they left. And the Patriots believed that they had saved Savannah from the British trying to completely take over. So now that the British are gone, they have to establish a state government. They established a provincial congress in 1776. So the Patriots now control the government. They set up a council of safety, which has a president. They set up a judicial branch that has a court with a chief justice and two assistants. So that's how Georgia is governed for the first part of the war. Here's an important thing for you to know. From March of 1776, when British troops left after the Battle of the Rice Boats, until they came back in December 1778 with the Battle of Savannah, the revolution in Georgia was basically a civil war fought between Georgia's patriots and loyalists. There weren't any British troops in Georgia during that time period, so the fighting that went on was one Georgian fighting another. Going on at the same time, there are things happening in Florida. Colonel Lachlan McIntosh is the commander of a Georgia battalion of the Continental Army. He takes responsibility for Savannah's defense. He also tries to lead an invasion of British Florida. Doesn't work. Florida Rangers, loyal to the British, stage raids into South Georgia. So there's some going back and forth between Continental troops and British troops in Florida. McIntosh is part of a group from Savannah that wants independence, and they want to limit who could serve in government. Another group or faction, the ones who wrote the state's new constitution, wanted ordinary people to have more say in a government that was independent. Button Gwinnett belonged to this group. The tensions between these two guys, Lachlan McIntosh and Button Gwinnett, eventually get so bad that they challenge each other to a duel. We'll learn more about that in class. The group that is in charge basically and writes the new Constitution of 1777 are mostly the more radical patriots. So here's the way they set things up. They reorganized the government. The 12 parishes became 8 counties. And the counties took over the work of local government. The new Constitution created a legislature composed of representatives of the people. The governor had limited power and could only serve a 1-year term. We'll talk about what that means. There were 2 groups, the radical patriots, those who wanted the most change. They're the people who were mostly in charge of writing this new Constitution. And the conservatives, people who wanted less change, thought that this Constitution gave too many ordinary men made them eligible to vote and hold office. The conservatives wanted most of the power in the hands of the wealthiest, and that meant mostly Savannah businessmen. We'll go over this workbook page. We'll do it and go over it in class. Here is a map of the original Georgia counties. This is what Georgia was during the time period. These counties were named after British politicians who supported colonial independence. So, Camden, Glenn, Chatham, Effington, Burke, Richmond, and Wilkes were all named for English noblemen. Liberty is named for the idea of liberty. And that wraps it up for part 3.